Hello, happy Wednesday. I hope wherever you are that you and your loved ones are safe and well, that you're having a good week and a good day. I'm going to do something a little different this week. I was thinking about our family dog growing up, and I just wanted to tell you about the family dog. We can't have a dog here, and we just get to live vicariously through all the other family members who have dogs, because all of my siblings have dogs, more than one or more than one, and so it's magical. But I was thinking about Max. Max was my brother's dog. He saved up every penny from, occasions and birth, whatever. He saved up until he could get this puppy, this golden retriever puppy, who was this ball of fluff and magic. He came to us when I was in high school. So I went to high school. I was the only one in the family that went to a high school that was not immediately in the neighborhood. I went farther away. And so it took me a long time to travel back and forth. And so I didn't do like afternoon walks and things like that. And I left in the morning before everybody else. So I didn't do morning walks and stuff like that. So my interactions with him mostly came later on in both of our lives, like my big interactions with him. But Max was a dog. He was gentle with elderly people. He was gentle with kids. He let them, grab him and pull on him and stuff. He didn't react. He was so good. And like if you came in and were upset about something and put your head in your hands, he hated that. He would come up from underneath and lick you. If you were crying, he would just start crying. He would sit down next to you and just start like crying with you. And it was like, why are you crying? I'm crying. And he cried out of solidarity. We don't deserve dogs. Dogs are magical beings sent to this earth to make life better. I have noticed since the pandemic, I've always noticed dogs, like especially with our gal, we would be walking and somebody'd have a really cute dog and we would just be like, oh, your dog's amazing. And if they let us pet them, that's great. If not, that's fine. But like, oh, wow, your dog's cute. Or we would say to each other like, oh my gosh, that dog was adorable. And since the pandemic, I know I've talked about flowers and plants, but I feel like I notice people and dogs more and the way people... And the pandemic sort of made people pull back, like to not interact with people. And like we live near the park and there's several dog fields. And so I don't think that's what they're called, but that's what people call them, like the dog field. Because that's where everybody walks there, runs, the dogs play and stuff. And so I think the pandemic, because you didn't want to interact with people or like get close to people you didn't know, really made people pull back. And so we just watch them from a distance now. But a few times... we've had people with their dogs walking by and the dogs come to me. And it's like, what about me made that dog feel I was worthy of their attention? Because that to me is like the ultimate compliment. When a dog is like, I'm not afraid of you. I think you're amazing. I want you to pet me. And it happens frequently. And my husband said, I wonder what it is about your aura that makes them run right to you. And it's like, I would love to know that. So if anyone has a talking dog, hello. I want to know. But Max, when I started having problems with my feet, and I was imagining this timeline, and then I realized, wait a minute, that's not possible. This was way before my CRPS damaged my foot, but I was having problems with my feet years before that, and I completely forgot that, because by the time my CRPS was diagnosed, Max was long gone, unfortunately. But so when I realized, wait a minute, you had problems with your back, with your feet years before this. And so I think like my spurs and all that stuff, that began much younger. But I remembered when I was having problems with my feet and I would come in and I'd be sitting down, whatever. And it was beyond like the walking, limping type of thing. I would just be sitting there and Max would come over and he'd like nose my bad foot and like give me a lick and then just sit on that side and like he was guarding me. And he didn't do it all the time, but like he did it enough that it was like, wow, he knew which foot was bad. He knew, he knew, he just sensed it. And I know that he sensed things. Don't ever tell me dogs aren't smart, because they totally are. They're brilliant. The day that we came to tell everybody we were having our gal, when we were expecting our baby, he met us at the door, as he always did. He always met her. Obviously, dogs do that. They meet you at the door. But he stopped and he like kind of nosed my abdomen and licked my shirt and then like nosed it again. And then I was like, does he know I'm pregnant? And it was like, what? I think he did. I think they know. And like people say dogs sense things like that. He knew. They know. Trust me. And so that kind of blew my mind. But then we got excited and we're telling everybody about the baby. And he would just, when I would come over after that, he would always do that. He would nose my abdomen and lick my shirt and then sit down near me. And it was like he was guarding the baby. He was guarding me in this vulnerable state or something. I don't know. He was magical. And when I said I was like, we had most of our interactions later on, like the months before I got married, I shared a room with my youngest sister, as we always had. The two of us always were paired up. It was amazing. And my bed, the head of my bed, it came out from the wall like a T. And the head of my bed was next to this built out closet. And so I was my head was kind of tucked into that corner, like the wall, the closet. So my head was here and it would come out. Well, he decided to, out of nowhere, in the middle of the night one night, come out, and I hear him clicking and clacking down the hallway, and he comes into our room. He's clicking and clacking on the wooden floor. And then I feel the thud of his head on the end of my bed, and that meant he wanted to come up. And so I was like, what are you doing? And so then he would just be stepping on the wooden, like click, click, click. And I was afraid he was going to wake my sister up. So I'm like, all right, get in bed, come in. So he would lay on the end of the bed, but that would not last because he would work his way up. And in the morning, I would be clinging to the edge of my bed and he would be completely stretched out, paws out, with his head next to me on the pillow. So I would be turned and he'd be looking back at me like, you didn't give me enough room. So I had no choice. Every night he did this. Every night. I think he knew I was leaving. I was moving out, and he wouldn't see me that often, I guess. But we had never, like, we always got along. Like we always, I pet him. But it was just like, why did he choose me at that point? And it was just like, oh my gosh, he knows I'm going. And it broke my heart that he, felt he had to do, I don't know. Maybe it was his way of telling me he loved me. I don't know. But it was just this, I loved it. I secretly loved it. And I would try to get him to come out earlier, but he wouldn't, because I feel like he was like making sure the apartment was safe and everybody was fine. And then he could go to bed. And it was always in the middle of the night. And he was just this magical, magical being. And I remember the day that he passed, the day that he died, was the day that I was able to wear maternity clothes for the first time. And I was so excited to do that. And this is back in the early 2000s when they had the big maternity panel. I think maternity clothes are much nicer now. They're much more modern and cool. But this had like the different colored panel at the top of the jeans. And I was so happy because I finally needed maternity clothes. And we were going out to my sister's. We were driving out of state, and like we were so excited, and I walk into the house and I'm like, everyone's devastated, and I'm like, what the heck happened? And I realized he had been sick for a very long time, and it was too much at that point. And so he was not well, and I wanted so badly, because I knew they had to take him in that night, and I wanted to go. And I was a high-risk pregnancy. My husband was like, we can't do that. We cannot have you that upset. And so I remember crying all the way home, and I was so feeling sad all the way home. And I just felt like, and I really wish that he had met my daughter, but in a way I feel like he did, and I feel like he watches out. I feel like our beloved fur babies watch out for us somehow. And, he was just this magical being. So I just wanted to share a little bit of Max with you guys, because Max was amazing. One last thing, which is kind of funny about him. My grandfather was not a dog person at all. He didn't want to pet your dog. He just was like, nice dog, and that was it. So when we got Max was this he wanted you to love him. He was like, hello, I am here. You will love me, play with me, something. My grandfather was like, get away from me, you furball. No, thank you. But over the years, he got through to my grandfather, because he would always sit near the one person who did not want him to sit with him. And that was my grandfather. Like, you will love me. I will convince you of how great I am. And he would sit near Grandpa, and every now and again, when he thought we couldn't see it, my grandfather would put his hand out and Max would lick him really quick, or he didn't love that, but he would nose him and do that. And my grandfather would fluff his fur a little bit and then take his hand away. Nobody saw that, but we were like, ah, You love him. And he loved my grandmother. And you know, my grandmother used to tell the story about how he practically got on the bus to meet her when she was coming in. We met her at the bus stop, and Max practically got on the bus to take her home and safe and everything. And I almost believe it, because Max did watch out for her, and he watched out for everybody. He was a good dog. If you have dogs, you know what I'm talking about. Dogs are magical. I'm not a cat person because I'm allergic to them and slightly afraid of them, but you know, same deal. If you have your pets, you know what I'm talking about. So love your fur babies, love the people in your life, and give them an extra treat for me. And if any of them ever decide to speak, please let them call me and tell me what it is about me that makes a dog deem me worthy. Granted, I'm always like, I love your dogs, but there are a lot of dogs just are like, get away from me, you psycho. But some dogs are just like, oh wow, it's you. And they look like they recognize you. And it's just this magical, happy moment. And it's like, they chose me, they like me, why? And I try not to let it like overwhelm me. And I'm like, ah, when I'm like, hello. Anyway, I'm a weirdo. But that's me, and you know that. So anyway, love your dogs. Give them a treat from me. And just enjoy them, because they are just magic on this earth. And anyway, that's it. I hope wherever you are that you have a low pain, no pain, low aggravation, no aggravation kind of a day, kind of a week, and kind of a weekend to come. That's what we hope for. That's what we deserve. That is what I truly wish for each and every one of you. Have a beautiful afternoon. I'm going to go out for a walk in a bit. I got a much later start than I planned today. Shocker. And that's that. I'll see you on Friday via the blog next week for everything. Take care. Bye.